While working valet, a woman tossed me her keys and said, "Keep the engine running. I might need to leave fast." It was a black tie charity gala at the Harrington Grand, the kind of event where the cars cost more than my yearly salary. I'd parked Porsches, Bentleys, a couple of Ferraris, rich people doing rich people things. So when the silver Mercedes pulled up and a woman in a red evening gown stepped out, I didn't think much of it. She was beautiful in that polished way, diamonds at her throat, hair swept up perfectly. But when she pressed the keys into my palm, her fingers were ice cold. "Keep the engine running," she said quietly. "Park it right by the side exit. Leave the driver's door unlocked." I started to ask why, but she was already walking toward the entrance. Then she stopped, turned back, and added, "If a man in a gray suit asks about me, you never saw this car." Her eyes held something I recognized. I'd seen it in my mother's face growing up, the look of someone who'd learned to plan escape routes in their own home. I should have followed protocol, should have parked the car in the garage with the others and handed the keys to my supervisor. Instead, I pulled the Mercedes around to the side exit, left it running, and stood nearby pretending to check my phone. 20 minutes passed, 30. The party inside was loud, music and laughter spilling out every time someone opened a door. Then I saw him, gray suit, tall, broad-shouldered, moving through the crowd near the entrance with his head swiveling like a predator scanning for prey. He approached the valet stand where my coworker Darnell was working. I couldn't hear what he said, but I watched Darnell shake his head and shrug. The man's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, made a call, and started walking the perimeter of the building. My heart hammered against my ribs. I stepped into the shadows beside the Mercedes and waited. 5 minutes later, the side exit burst open. The woman in red came running out, her heels in one hand, a clutch purse in the other. Behind her, I could hear shouting from inside. "Go, go, go!" she gasped, throwing herself into the driver's seat. I barely had time to step back before she peeled out of the lot, tires screaming against asphalt. The gray-suited man came crashing through the exit seconds later, but the Mercedes was already gone, taillights disappearing around the corner. He turned and looked directly at me. "Where did she go?" I shrugged, keeping my face blank. "Who?" His nostrils flared. "The woman, silver Mercedes, red dress." I pretended to think. "Sorry, man, I've parked like 40 cars tonight. They all blur together." He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell expensive cologne and something sharper underneath. Rage. "You're lying." I held his gaze. "And you're scaring away the guests. Security's right inside if you want to make a scene." He stared at me for a long moment, then pulled out his wallet and flashed a badge. FBI. My stomach dropped. "That woman is wanted for embezzlement. $3 million stolen from a children's cancer charity." He tucked the badge away. "You just helped a criminal escape." I felt the blood drain from my face. The charity. The gala. She'd been stealing from sick kids. He took my name, my employee ID, told me not to leave town. I spent the rest of my shift in a daze, replaying every moment. The cold fingers, the fear in her eyes. I'd been so sure she was a victim. So sure I was helping someone escape an abuser. But I'd just let a thief vanish into the night. When my shift ended, I sat in my car and Googled her name from the incident report the FBI agent had filed. Victoria Ashford. I found the charity website first, then the news articles. Then I found the lawsuit from 2 years ago that made my blood run cold. Victoria Ashford had filed a whistleblower complaint against the charity's board of directors, alleging they'd been funneling donations into private accounts for years. The case was dismissed. The judge who threw it out was married to the charity's founder. The FBI agent who investigated her, his name was Grant Holloway, same agent who'd just taken my statement. I dug deeper. Holloway had been accused of evidence tampering in 3 separate cases, all involving wealthy defendants who walked free. He was currently under internal investigation by the Bureau's Office of Professional Responsibility. My hands were shaking as I connected the dots. Victoria hadn't stolen anything. She'd tried to expose corruption, and the people she'd accused were using a dirty agent to hunt her down. I thought about calling someone, but who? The FBI was compromised. Local cops wouldn't touch a federal case. Then I remembered the clutch purse she'd been carrying. Small, beaded, expensive, and the corner of a flash drive I'd seen poking out of the zipper. 3 weeks later, a massive story broke. Anonymous documents leaked to the Washington Post exposed a network of charity fraud involving 12 organizations, 3 judges, and 1 FBI agent named Grant Holloway. Victoria Ashford was listed as a key witness in the federal investigation that followed. She was never charged with embezzlement. Holloway was arrested at his home on a Thursday morning.